I hear you. Okay. So when it comes to wrongfully, and we have a little bit for you here. So we have been talking to states.
Why isn't the president asking oil companies to drill more here in the U.S.?
Let me just give you a little bit of a rundown of why we are here.
And just because I know his letter was a lot about refining and increasing refining, but that's a lot of oil that comes in from overseas. So why isn't he asking companies to drill more here in the U.S.?
Well, hold on. So here we go. So we need them to actually refine the crude oil, which is not happening, and that's what we're calling on oil companies to do.
Why not just drill more here in the U.S. though?
Because we don't need to do that. What we need them to do is, with the oil that's out there, we need them to refine that oil so that the capacity could go up, and then prices would go down, inherently go down.
And so I know the president once said that he was going to end fossil fuel. Is that now off the table?
No, we are going to continue to move forward with our clean energy proposal, our climate change proposal.
Is that the priority? Climate change over gas prices?
No, that's not what we're saying. I'm answering the question.
Is his priority lowering gas prices, or is it addressing climate change?
We talked about the strategic petroleum that he's done, tapping into
barrels. How much has that lowered prices?
Here's the thing, Peter.
Make sure it's eliminated. No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period.
Why is the president saying that Why is the president saying that inflation is worse everywhere but here?
It is caused by we are in a much stronger place than we are economically than the rest. And also,
I did look globally though. He says that inflation is worse everywhere but here. That's not true. The U.S. has worse inflation than Germany, France, Japan, Canada, India, Italy, Saudi Arabia.
Well,
so why is he saying that?
I think what we are saying is that when you talk about inflation, it is a global thing. And it is not just about the United States. This is something that everyone is feeling.
Follow up to Peter's question about the letter to the oil companies. You were saying yesterday that a part of the plea to these companies is that it is their patriotic duty to act and do some things. I mean, these are for-profit oil companies we're talking about, right? Does the president have any, reason to think that these companies, because of a letter from him, will behave differently?
The way the president sees this is he has to do everything that he can. The strategic petroleum is going to be very important, and it has actually had an effect. But we're still, because of Putin's tax hike, we're still seeing $2 more of an increase per gallon.
On the online policy task force that the vice president's leading, that's getting kicked off today. On a background call last night, we were told that it's going to be different from the Disinformation Governance Board. Could you clear up the disinformation charge of this?
So I would need to talk to her team. I was not on the background call, so that specific language that you're providing to me, I would just have to check in with her. I would also encourage you to check as well with her team. I can't say more because I wasn't on the background.
Thanks, Karine. Since it's the first time I'm getting a question from you.
Oh no, I was. Go ahead, this young lady.
Maybe sorry. I can go after.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. I was trying to give her.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you very much for coming back to me, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is the first time I've been able to ask you a question, so I'd like to ask you two, if that's all right. First is just a clarification on the new online policy task force that was set up that the vice president is leading, and then the second one about a significant press access issue that's impacting a lot of us in this room.
Okay.
The first one, thank you. And the press access issue, for more than a year now, the White House press office has been having everyone in this room, and there is a process where people are selected and able to go into these presidential events where the president often takes questions. The Correspondents Association has tried in vain to figure out how this process works, and over time it has kind of morphed into a bit of a blacklist where certain large media outlets such as my own are almost
blacklist.
Never... I'm just saying I represent the fourth largest newspaper in the country, and I haven't been selected since November. So can you?
That's a jump to a blacklist. But I'm listening.
Well, I mean, it's not just me. Certain others.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
And the Correspondents Association actually wants this to be done away with. But I was hoping that you could. I know you're new in the position, but perhaps explain how the.
Can I look into
works?
it? Can I look into this? Because I actually don't know what the process that you're speaking of. I think blacklisting is a very strong word to use.
So the Federal Reserve is predicting that GDP growth for the next 2 years will be 1.7%, under 2%, under 2% for the next 3 years. So is this what the president considers stable and steady growth?
We believe that we are in a transition right now because of the work that the president has done this past year and a half. And so we believe that we'll be in that transition. We're going into that transition of stable and steady growth. The way that we're seeing this is we are on a track to have that transition to be in that stable growth.
But are you just lowering expectations then?
What do you mean by lowering expectation?
For the economy going forward, for Americans to expect growth and see inflation come down?
Well, what we're saying is that we've had this economic growth, right? We've had this historic growth because of the actions the president took with the American Rescue Plan. But we're also going to continue to try to do everything that we can to lower prices and to lower cost.
Back on May 22nd, Secretary Vilsack said that an abatement of the shortage will be seen within the next 30 days. We're coming up on that 30-day mark. When are American families going to see, this situation resolved, an actual progress where the shelves are full once again, problem go away?
The president has made this a priority, right? He has used his authorities to make sure that we can do everything we can. We're going to continue to work. We're going to continue to make sure that we...
We're coming up to the end of the 30-day assessment that he had said at the end of May. I mean, can you put a time frame on this now? Are families going to be scrambling the entire summer still?
I don't have a timeline for you on this, but what I can say is we're doing everything that we can from here. We know how hard this is at this time. We know how difficult it is.
The stock market is dropping again today. How confident are you that the big rate hike yesterday will tamp down on inflation?
So here's what I will say is that we understand what American families are going through. As you know, this has been a priority, bringing down inflation and doing everything that we can. We, as the president has said and he's written about, we are going to give the Federal Reserve their space that to be moved forward and that to happen. But so we're just going to give the Federal Reserve the space to do what they need to do.
As you know, rates for the 30-year mortgage averaged nearly 6% this week, and that jump by more than half a percentage point was the largest one-week increase since 1987.
So we know that housing affordability is a central challenge for families. The president understands that. As mortgage rates increase, demand in the housing market should cool. This is part of our transition to stable and steady growth with lower inflation. That is the kind of economy that delivers for working families.
You didn't fully answer that, and I wanted to sort of give you another opportunity on that, but also ask if he disagrees with the U.S. intelligence assessment, which has reached that conclusion.
So let me just say this, as we've said many times here, and you've heard from him, and he's talked about that.
But I'm still not hearing you say, yes, he agrees with that assessment.
What I can say to you is that again, we issued this extensive report, and he released the report, right? This is a report. I'm telling you, this is something that the president took very, very seriously, and he released that report. So clearly, he would not release that report if it is not something that he believed in, right? So
yes.
I'm trying to answer the question.
The Abbott plant in Michigan stopped production again because of severe flooding. It sounds like it could be another additional few weeks of delay. Is that something that the White House is monitoring? Do you all have an assessment of how much longer this could delay things?
So obviously, we know about the news from Abbott, and it's disappointing. It is a disappointing. Oh, okay. All right, we're going to disregard. But, we can't control their timeline. What we can do is continue to focus on what we're going to do, which is, as far as the timeline for Abbott, that's for them to speak to.
Why do you keep doing this, saying that you call on people you've never called on, and you don't really call
I just called on someone. Go ahead.
Karine,
You have the last question.
Doing a great job as press secretary.
Thanks, appreciate that. So you took a question earlier about Clarence Thomas, and you said it was up to the court to decide.
Yeah. And
my understanding is not really up to the court to decide; it's up to him to decide. So the question is,
no, I think the question that I got was, do we think the Clarence Thomas should recuse himself? Is that the question that you're asking?
But he's in the position of deciding whether he ought to recuse himself.
Well, then it's up to him. I'm just saying that I'm not going to comment from here. Really was what.
partially?
That's not